In this section, we're going to give a brief introduction to the XAML markup language, which is the type of file format that will be used to create graphical interfaces in .NET Maui applications. We have already created a .NET Maui application and we have created a set of different files that are part of the project. They are these files that we see in the part of the right. We have some specific names for each of these files, such as app.xaml, appshell.xaml, and mainpage.xaml. One thing that is very important to know is that each of those XAML files contain an associated C# file as part of the same file. That is to say, if we expand this main page node, we can find a file called mainpage.xaml.cs, which, if we open, contains C# code that will be associated to the XAML file that is part of this hierarchy. We can see that also appshell.xaml contains its C# file, and also the app.xaml file has an associated app.xaml.cs file. There is a big difference between this file named app.xaml and the other files. If we examine this file called app.xaml, we can see that the main tag of the file is a tag called application. And as part of that tag, we have more tags inside the tag. This app.xaml file is very important as part of the application because it specifies what is the initial file or what is the initial page that we're going to want to launch as part of the application. We also have a set of different additional pages, such as mainpage.xaml, which has as its first tag a tag called content page. We will see later what this content page is, and also as part of the appshell.xaml file, we have this special tag called shell, which we will also examine later. Let's focus then on the file called mainpage.xaml to see some XAML language features. First of all, as part of this file, and as part of all the XAML files that you are going to create as part of your application, you are going to find that each of the pages is going to have a couple of namespaces. This is called a namespace. When you see something similar, remember that it is a namespace. And while it may look like this is a URL that points to a site on the internet, the truth is that these are not URLs that you can navigate to find information, but rather they are version identifiers that contain certain information for use on the different pages as part of the application. This first tag that we see first, containing the isolated name XMLNS, refers to classes in the .NET Maui framework. If we proceed, for example, to delete this line, look what is going to happen. We see that we have different errors in each of these elements that are precisely part of the .NET Maui framework. So it's very important that you don't delete this namespace, that you leave it as it is. And this second reference that we have here defines something called a prefix. The prefix is this form that we see here, the colon followed by a letter or some particular name. We are also going to see how to create them later, but in this specific case it serves to declare namespaces that are not defined by default and that in this specific case make reference to XAML elements. If we remove this line, we would have some errors, as for x:class equal to Maui app1.mainPage, since we have eliminated precisely the prefix that corresponds to this x. Then we must leave this prefix as it is here to be able to use it later through this structure. As part of this prefix, we can use some elements, as for example this one that we see here that makes reference or that specifies which is the class in the code behind that we're going to use so that it works in conjunction with this XAML file. In this case, we're specifying the complete namespace of the class that is Maui app1, which is precisely the namespace of our project. Here is Maui app1, and later we make a reference to main page, which is the name as such of the class, which is the one we have here. Another element that is very used is the element x:name that is going to allow us to specify an identifier to a control so that we can use it from the code behind. Later, we're going to see some examples of this. Let's remove this reference and then we will see the basic structure of the XAML elements.